Alright guys, I'm going to be honest with you, this is take two, but welcome guys to the comp tutorial for the branded Despia deck that I just recorded. This is literally right after the fact. I had to redo it because I did a nice hand and fucked up like 3 times in the middle of the combo, so I'm just going to redo it. Redo the whole video. I woke up not too long ago trying to get myself a little bit clearer in the head. I wanted to try to make some I wanted to show you guys ideal board, but then I kept on shotgunning things and not making ideal and just making mistakes. So I'm just gonna go ahead and redo the deck profile the comp tutorial for you. So we're gonna draw 5 like we normally do. 3, 4, 5. I mean, this is great. It's not ideal, but it's great. We don't want to see this in our hand, and really we don't want to see the branded fusion, but the branded fusion is actually great. But this Darlingtonian in our hand is just going to be discard fodder. Because we're still going to normal summon Keeper. Use Keeper to discard the Darlingtonia. We're actually going to keep the Brand Retribution in our hand. We're going to use it as an interruption, which I will explain why here in a minute. And then we're going to add Instant Fusion. If your opponent ashes this, you're basically just going to be free willy-nilly. There's no point wasting your cross-out designator on that ash. They should generally wait until you have the Brand Fusion. We're going to activate the Instant Fusion here. Summon out our Ambulides. Ambulides is going to trigger to add the Pendulum. Bufalicula. I don't know how the hell he pronounce his name, but that's about all I know. We're going to activate Bufalicula. Make sure you put it in the pen scale. And activate Branded Fusion. And it's going to be Fallen Albaz plus Bistilabellion. Make Albion. Albion effect diffuse. We're gonna use a cross-out designator here as the discard fodder. I think that'd be smart. No. We're gonna keep it in our hand. I mean, we could say we already used it, but we're not going to. And banish those two, make Mirror Jade. We're going to use Lebellion in Graveyard. Tribute off to Albion. Special summon it. Now we're going to use Albion's effect to resolve an end phase, and then use the Lebellion on field to activate the branded Lost straight from our deck. I mean, it's a little bit of a pickle right now. There's not really much we can do here. But we get to set the Branded Retribution. That will be set. We'll set the cross-out designator and resolve. Albion, I guess. And we're going to keep cross-out in our hand. We're going to resolve Albion. Set Branded Opening. Okay, so we got this set, and that's about it. Unfortunately, the hand wasn't ideal because we drew multiple bricks. But to have a negate live, a summon negate, a banish, which can lead to other things, Crossout Designator is dead in our hand, which is, I mean, we want it to be in our hand, but we did not want to see it plus, like, the 2 other bricks, because the 2 other bricks just clogged it. We don't have a way to fuse. Unfortunately, this branded opening set, we have nothing to fuse. We don't have anything to summon back with Keepers, so this is about it. So I have to use Mirror Jade's Negate. You can return it to the extra deck to have another Negate. And that's going to be about all she wrote. But a simple hand. I could have probably played it a little bit better. I was trying to think of the most ideal way. I was trying to get it done the most, or the way I generally do it the most. But with the hand that I had, it was just kind of impossible. I wanted that Ambulides to be in my graveyard. I didn't want to have to get banish it, but I kind of had to. I mean, I guess in that instance, I probably could have sent the Dark Magician to the graveyard, but off the Branded Fusion. But I think the other play was best. The Branded Loss just nets you so much advantage, but we needed to be able to fusion summon again to be able to trigger that advantage. But we couldn't. We didn't have anything to make. So we're gonna go ahead. We're just gonna do a cut and then draw. Fusion Flame's good. 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm indifferent about this, but we're gonna activate the Fusion Flame. It doesn't really matter. Actually, it kind of does matter, but we do not have a way to access. Well, I mean, we do have a way to access. We're gonna reveal Gangrenol, the Branded Fusion. I'm gonna show you guys here in a second how to do that. We're gonna reveal Gangrenol. We're gonna special summon Blazing Cartesia. Use Blazing Cartesia. We're gonna fuse Despia and Tragedy and Blazing Cartesia into the Gangrenol. Gangrenol is gonna dump Albion, Earth's Chain 1, and then Despia and Tragedy is gonna be Chain 2, where we add Alibur, the Jester of Despia. I don't know why. The second time recording, I'm just getting absolute dog water hands for you guys, but we'll make it work. We will make it work. Now, Albion will trigger on end phase. We can't use Despia and Tragedy's effect again, but that is fine. And then we'll summon Alibur. Add Branded Fusion. I'm going to activate Branded Fusion. We do have actually a decent setup here. It's going to be Dark Magician and Fallen Albaz. Make Lebellion. Lebellion, we're going to discard Guiding Clem. We don't really need it right now. Diffuse by shuffling back. We're going to shuffle back. Dark Magician and the Fallen Albaz. To make Dragoon. So now we're going to continue towards end phase. Where Blazing Cartesia is going to add itself back to our hand. And then Albion is going to set a card from our deck to our side of the field, which is going to be branded in red. Alright. Now here we don't have to rely on very much. We don't have to rely on our opponent doing much. But I'm going to show you guys that we're just going to shuffle and cut. So their turn hits. We don't necessarily want to use this Cartesia because we want to save it for the Fusion Summon. Even if we don't save it for the Fusion Summon, we can still use these two on our board because this can tag out. But I want Alibur to be in the graveyard. I would prefer it so we can have an extra negate. But we will be able just to have an Alibur anyway in our hand, which can be triggered from Dragoon. So it doesn't really matter. And so we're going to activate Brandon in red. They're trying to set up 2 monsters. On the second monster, we're going to activate Brandon in red. Activate that, or add Despia and Tragedy back. And we're going to fuse using Despia and Tragedy. Albert and Lebellion. Make Guardian Chimera. Now we're going to chain block to be chain 1 Guardian Chimera, chain 2 Despia and Tragedy. So use Despia and Tragedy's effect to resolve Albert to our hand. And that was our cut, the one we did right there at the deck. And then we're going to pop 2, draw 1. I mean, it's another Ash. Has to be another Ash, of course. But here, Dragoon becomes live with the Albert going to the graveyard, which can revive itself if one of our fusion monsters go to the graveyard as a negate. So that's it. We're gonna set out a few cards just to show you an ideal hand. Right, and this is a hand that I've liked to see. It's one of my favorites to be able to play with. But these are the 3 cards we're going to set out, and I'm going to try to walk you guys through the board that you can make with it. As long as we don't see any of the other cards that we want to be able to use from our deck. Seeing a Branded Fusion's fine, but we want to make sure we have a card for this card. And so like an Ash or whatever will be fine here. We're going to shuffle cut. There's the Ash. And Fallen Albas. Okay, this hand's actually insane. So, I'm going to play through it with you guys to show you guys how insane this hand is. So, we're going to use Lebellion here to pitch itself. It doesn't really matter, but Serenir is a good choice here. So if you end up putting the Serenir into the graveyard at any point, you can still get your Brand of Retribution to the graveyard and regenerate your resources. But we're going to normal summon the Keeper. Shocker. Keeper's going to discard. See, now we can really save the Ash because we did draw it. I did not even add it to my hand as part of that combo. We're going to discard the Serenir. And we're going to add Instant Fusion. Resolve. Serenir is going to dump that Brand of Retribution that we were talking about. Now we're going to activate Instant Fusion. Summon out the Ambulides. Ambulides is going to trigger. And we are going to add to our hand Bufo. Now we're going to trigger Ambulides' other effect here to dump itself, special this out, and that's going to add Branded Fusion. So we're going to special out Darlingtonia with Ambulides' effect, add Branded Fusion. So now we're going to activate Branded Fusion. Dump Dark Magician and Fallen Albaz. To make Lebellion is going to use its effect. We're going to use this card, Ash Blossom, and we're going to banish cards. Or we're going to shuffle back. So we're going to shuffle back Fallen Albaz. We're going to shuffle back Lebellion. Make Mirror Jade. Yeah, I think that's right. Actually, we don't discarding Nash was wrong. We're gonna discard Fallen Albaz. That's gonna be right. No, we're gonna discard Ash. We're gonna keep the Fallen Albaz in graveyard. We are gonna shuffle back to Lubellion, but we're not gonna make Mirror Jade. So this is gonna be my one retake. We're gonna banish, or we're gonna shuffle back. Sorry. Ambulides and Darlingtonia Cobra, and Lubellion's gonna stay on board. And you guys will see in a minute why I had that takesy backsy. For Dragos Despia. Alright, we're going to special summon Blazing Cartesia. This is why I wanted to take backsies. To fuse with it with Fallen Albaz to make Albion. And then Albion's going to fuse by banishing. And this is why I wanted them to have that takesy backsy. Because now we can banish the Fallen Albaz and Lubellion to make the Mirror Jade. I said I was jumping the gun. That's why I took that takesy backsy. Now we're going to use Lubellion in graveyard. Tribute off Albion, special summon itself. Albion will trigger for end phase. Lubellion is going to use its effect. Activate the Branded Lost straight from our deck. We're going to activate the effect the Keeper. We're going to reveal Dragoon in our extra deck. And special summon the Dark Magician in face down defense position. We're going to activate Bufo. Bufo is going to use its effect to fuse those two. And the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Branded Lost is going to trigger. And it doesn't really matter what we add to our hand. One card that mentions Fallen Albaz. A lot of cards mention Fallen Albaz. We're going to end the career. I know this isn't really better than most other hands, but what we can do later on is better, and I feel that, because we do have the recursion of that Branded Fusion that we can use, but we're going to proceed to end phase. We're going to trigger Cartesia first, add it back to our hand, and then like normal fashion with that Albion, just to double check we have the card in graveyard, we have Fallen Albaz in graveyard. We're going to set Branded in red. Alright. Generally going into game 3, I will use my Branded in red to make a Masquerade. So Masquerade doesn't have any trigger effects. My opponent can't activate cards to a new chain because of Branded Lost. And I have a way into another monster or card. One Fallen Albaz or another card, so I can trigger cards on my opponent's turn, because it's generally going to be activate this, but we don't have a Despia monster because we have to use a Despia monster for Masquerade. We don't have a Despia monster, so we're still going to use it. We're going to add back Fallen Albaz. And here we can still go ahead and make Guardian Chimera, or we can use these two, but we really don't want to do that. We can use Mercurier and Fallen Albaz to make Rhinebrum to have another negate. Kind of don't want to do that. We can make Gangrenol. Kind of still don't want to do that because, you know, whatever. But we're just going to make Guardian Chimera here because we can't make the... Or I'm going to banish those. Because we can't make a Masquerade, but this is going to be another forms of interruption. Guardian Chimera. This is an insane board. We still have the Monster Negate in our hand, but we're going to chain 1, chain 2. Branded Lost is going to add Quem. Then Guardian Chimera is going to pop 1, draw 2 on our opponent's board. So we're going to shuffle, we're going to cut, and then draw 2. And just like that, we're back in it. Because they have to deal with a Monster Negate and Omni Negate, a banish, the pop, and then they also have to deal with another Monster Negate in hand. So that was an ideal board. Ending on these 3 together is an ideal with a Branded Red set. If you drew, and I could have added Adlib to my hand, part of the ideal portion of the hand. If you had ad-lib, you could have ended on the Masquerade way easier, because you just banished ad-lib as part of it, summon it back out, and then you can also bring back like Albion, or you can bring back, you know, Lebellion, whatever you feel like. But you will have that Masquerade on board, and it will cost tax. And why, like I said beforehand, right, the reason why I like making Masquerade instead of Guardian Chimera in this instance is if I had a Despia monster in graveyard, a Despia monster in hand, which I did not, the last thing that happened was my fusion summon, so they can't activate cards in a new chain, or cards that would start a new chain because of Branded Lost. So they have to like normal summon a card, or, you know, set a card. They have to do another action that doesn't start a chain before they can do something that starts a chain, if that makes sense, because of Branded Lost. Branded Lost is really good. So let me know what you guys think about this combo tutorial. I showed you guys ideal hand. I showed you guys hands that's like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. But this isn't, like, don't take it to heart. Don't take it with the finest grain of salt. Everything can change. Like that Crossout Designator being my hand. If I had Crossout Designator, I don't know if it was this one or the last video. If Crossout Designator's in your hand, you're generally going to use it because they're going to ash you into Oblivion as soon as they can. So you're generally going to use Crossout Designator when you can. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think. Again, I do put a lot of time into making the decks and try to make sure they work. Especially, you know, going into locals where I play against quite a bit of Cashier. I used to play against quite a Cashier, but I play against people who like to play a whole bunch of meta decks. Even some people with fun decks, but most of my matches are against some pretty decent to really good players. So I do take a lot of time and effort into building my decks and making sure they're good enough to compete against people who are really good. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys would change, and I will keep you guys updated. And I will update you guys about my Sprite deck when I start doing it. I might do a little video series of how I build decks, especially going through like what my ideologies are for the Sprite deck. So let me know if you guys actually want to see that. I think that'd be pretty cool. Hope you all have a safe day, and see ya.